Alrighty. So, yeah, the part we left off on. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we can set up another day to look at it. I at least want to get the Steam back going. When I take a day off, I definitely got to reestablish that Steam. So Sundays and Wednesdays, you know, day off time. Oh, dude, no worries. To this guy, no, I don't play WoW. Like, dude, I don't know how many times I have to tell you this. I do not play WoW. I think it's kind of a shit game. Yeah, man, dude, and it's fun, right? Like, it's so fun. And it's a good way to, get eyes on things in a way that is really hard to do. So, yeah. No, I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, and you get just such good feedback while doing it, right? Like, I had a mobile app, and I immediately, when building the mobile app, oh, and thanks for that. I appreciate you. But yeah, when building the mobile app, basically, the moment I was ready to do some product testing, boom, 30 people using it immediately. They had a phone available ready to use it from the expo side. Like immediately. I'm not sure whether it was a troll or not, but one of the phones was listed as Benawad's phone, which is kind of crazy. But nah, thank you. But yeah, so Israel NYC, Felipe Fontana, Frozen Fusion, Markentine, and Coffee Before Code. Hell yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Oh, I played some League on Friday night. Oh yeah, you'll never get that back. I just play Singed. If any other game had Singed, I'd probably be playing that game. Yeah, PoE is fun. Yeah. Yeah, I'm at the end game right now. Always looking for more people to play with. I got characters at all levels. I'm looking forward to seeing what the other classes are going to be like. That'll be fun too. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're the Zen main. Yep. Only one left in existence. Yeah. That's right. That's right. All right. So our per page stuff, we want to continue to have update like this. So that is not triggering the update like we want. If I do foo, that does kick off a thing. Ah, here we go. Nope, not yet. Wait, you play League of Legends on PS4? That's not a thing, is it? That would explain some teammates I've had, though. No, I don't think that's the same thing. That might be like the mobile experience? I don't know. Oh, it is only for PC. That's what I thought. Yeah, exactly, Crispy. It hurt just a little bit. My poor brain. Okay, so the page we were on maybe didn't have the update. $20-hour gameplay video? Yikes. All right, so what I want to do is I want to kick off some scaffolding. Right, I need enough accounts to like fiddle with dropping back down. I mean, it does look like it worked. No, this looks like it totally worked. It's just a little slow, which is fine. So we're not triggering the spinner, which might have been my confusion there. So our loading state change, we do need to add a spinner. Eventually it'll be, you know, skeleton loader or something. I mean, I missed a lot of the hype around it. I'm sure some of it's like hugely relevant. One big thing to recognize is that the speed that we're seeing of these things to resolve, especially that slowness, is really not going to be a problem in production. Right? Because all this stuff is running locally. And this is one of those few cases where the database runs way slower locally than it does in production. Right? Network speed is fine, but the database itself is slow, which actually helps mimic network speed slightly. What I believe you'll see is that when we launch to production, this shit's fast. Yep. Yeah, aggressive preloading is probably like a smart move. All right, so that does look like it completed. We'll kick off one more just to be sure. Interesting. No cookies. If I want to share auth state between the various domains, then I might consider using cookies, but they wouldn't be secure cookies. Like the backend wouldn't care at all about them. They would just be client-side read cookies. And I don't think that's an issue. I really, really don't think that's an issue. The biggest argument I've heard is, what if a malicious script gets in and reads from your local storage? Then that same malicious script can make a request on your behalf anyway. Because you're already on the domain. Because local storage is domain scoped as well. At that point, the call's already coming from inside the house. How would such a script make it in? That might be your other question. Well, if you have user-submitted data that can be evaluated, like as a script, that could be a potential vulnerability. Luckily, we don't have that problem whatsoever. But another option is you're consuming something like a bad dependency. Sure. If it's a commonly used dependency, it's usually pretty quick to be identified. That also requires that you're updating to that vulnerable version at the right time. One use case I've heard someone treat as a boogeyman was, well, if you're using unpackage in production, and then they could have just stopped that statement right there, because you should not be using unpackage in production. Right? Well, if you're using unpackage in production, my friend Michael Jackson can inject whatever extra scripts he wants and read all your tokens. Yeah, you shouldn't be doing that. That is not a thing. So yeah, I completely disagree with almost all of the reasons I've heard experts like Ryan Florence give. There are cases where you'll want to be aware of it. I don't think we hit any of those cases. Personally. All right, so how far is that? If I refresh, do we have 22? Showing 10 of 22. Nice. Hit to 20. Takes a sec. We hit back to 10. Takes a sec. I'd say that's fine. Okay, so that part's working as we expect it to. Oh, and this, yeah, okay. So the reason we didn't see it update on the other page is the other page was the wrong page. That was like quota usages or something like that. Because we uncovered a bug that the per page wasn't triggering a refetch. And I don't think it was keeping all of our other quota stuff. So yeah, those were bugs on other pages. Interesting, that counts as a change event. Not sure I like that, so we'll have to fix that. Now that it's in the URL, search params aren't triggering an update. That doesn't trigger it. Okay, interesting. Neither does that. Okay. So let's set a date range. Oh. On date range change is not a function. Yeah, okay. Yep. All right, so we implemented. All right, text list filter is wrong. Yeah, this ends up being on date range change. So we were missing that step. And we could just spread the filter value. That would probably be worthwhile. Which would simplify our switch case too. Right? Like we could just do a... Yeah. We could do like an object lookup table even. I like the switch, but yeah. We'll consider simplifying this stuff here in a bit. And yeah, text list filter we haven't modified because we don't have any yet. We'll have to think about that part. Now, do we actually have that set? On date range change is not a function where we're calling it 163. So it's undefined as we're passing it in. And yep, that would be it. I don't know if these values actually need to be passed in there. Yeah, because basically what we're using to trigger a refresh is the mechanism of the query params changing. So I don't want to have to like listen for these values here. But our querying is going to need it. Right. Which is where this query ends up happening. Right. Okay. So it's basically like an order of operations problem of when we do the fetch items. So what I'm thinking then, we've got common options. And that is happening here in the table wrapper. I think there's a step I'm missing in here. Right. So this ends up being uncommitted search params. You do see min quota update. it shouldn't be updating yet. Right, because we need to maintain this as internal state. And we don't see... I mean, number one, now our filtering is broken. Because it's triggering a refetch, but it's not taking in the value, I think. Okay. Yeah. We need to be parsing this. This part gets a little grosser. Now we know that it's a number. So that fixed one set of errors. All right, so our filtering is still not actually kicking in. Even though we see it in the URL. Yeah, in this refactor. It's a little bigger than I was hoping. Let me keep double checking work, see if anyone replied to any of the stuff I posted elsewhere. Doesn't look like it. Okay. All right, so let me think about this some more. Which step do we care about the most? I really want to see the set filters button showing up. I think this is actually wrong and we could rethink the abstraction. But hold on, let me get another album going. All right, because if we know the value names, we can actually just set those in the URL. And then send it back up with the common options that we're getting here. It may require passing a generic through the component. Right? Like through the table wrapper. If we know what the other fields are going to be, then we're good to go. It's possible we could infer it from what we're passing here in the filters as well. How do I plan on testing Waltr with other SaaS to use? I plan on launching some micro SaaSes that I think maybe don't have as much of a chance of being successful, but there's still a way for me to evaluate it. So there's like dub.co. I would probably look at making a version of that. There's also like a job board kind of idea I had that wouldn't be too bad. I think job board is actually kind of smart. A game? A game's an option too. I just don't want to deal with Steam and all that BS right now. And I still consider game to be a smaller target market than software as a service. So I'd rather build a software as a service. Nah, like, I don't know, web gaming, I'm sorry, like, it's just not for me. Yeah, games are way larger scope than you would normally think. Right? If you think front-end dashboard application development's hard, front-end game development's way harder. And at least with these like micro software as a services, there's a chance it gets used and makes some money. I consider basically zero chance of a web game I make making money. So basically, I'll want to prove out the idea with another software as a service first. Right? Eventually, I can start making a game just to test it. You're saying the hackathon project? Like the generating GIFs from code? Nah, like all the work happens client side. I couldn't, with good conscience, charge people money for that. All the major functionality is client side. Right? The little bit of server stuff, I just shoehorned in there because they were looking for it for the hackathon. There is for storage, but it's just so like, meh. And I could do it. I could limit the amount of storage they get. Sure. I just don't see any value to it. Like, a major barometer for most of the things I want to build is, would I use it? Would I pay to have 20 or 30 stored snippets? No. Definitely not. Remove the watermark. Yeah, I get it. I don't know. No, I have other things I can build. Things that I think are actually useful. Right? Like basically, number one, I could build dub.co, like a dub.co clone on Cloudflare. Right? Because Cloudflare has the workers launchpad. So there's at least like an extra benefit. If I can get some customers for it, then I can push and boom. Oh yeah, for sure. I don't know, 5'9". That's a kind of fuzzy question. I wouldn't expect a mid-level software engineer to be able to build any software as a service from scratch. Indie hackers make it happen all the time, but very frequently realize how bad their code is. So there's a big difference between successful indie hacker and senior engineer, you know? And I'm not saying you have to be one to be the other or whatever, right? Like, they're technically just separate things. To me, I would consider actually the thing that levels you up as an engineer is actually how you work with a team. And you're not going to get any of that building your own like solo software as a service. Right? As far as companies are concerned, the thing that separates you from junior to mid to senior is actually how you go about helping with the planning and the stuff around building the software. Software itself is actually the easy part. In my opinion, right? Like, good mid-level to senior level distinction is how they do code review, etc. How they pair program and mentor juniors, etc. And that's not something that the tech stack or software as a service or project you build is going to teach you. Now, I do think there are certain things that I would still expect a senior to know, but I've interviewed and we've even hired seniors that fail some of that criteria. Right? Like at a previous company I worked at, one of my favorite questions to ask people when, interviewing for a front end role, which I thought I was doing, was, all right, so where would you handle invalidating the user's token, right? And logging them out? What place would you set that up? I love asking that question, especially when they say they have experience with some technology, right? If they say they're a React dev, how do they handle that? If they say they're an Angular dev, how do they handle that? If they haven't done it, it doesn't mean that they're unqualified. It just means they're not a senior front-end engineer to the level that maybe a company trying to replace me would be looking for. Could they learn? Absolutely. Could they be productive in other parts of the stack? Absolutely. But yeah, like all it does is tell me that, well, okay, they can't do that part, but that part's easy to teach too. So it's just a heuristic. It's just a way of figuring out, is this person lying? And it doesn't always say yes or no, but if they fail that one and a couple other easy ones, they might be lying on their resume, which I've seen a lot. Big example of the worst case scenario is had a person interviewing for a senior role because they were previously a recruiter themselves, which meant they knew which boxes to check on a resume to make a recruiter think that they were qualified. And then I went and looked at their actual GitHub. It was basically all like starter projects within the past 6 months to a year. And then I went and looked at their actual resume, and they were CTO of a company they started. So it's just really easy to get past the recruiter and then get into an interview and be up shit creek. I mean, it could be a thing. But yeah, I mean, in general, when you're just talking to a dev, you can pretty much just understand if they know what they're talking about or not. I mean, my question would be, how did you measure that? If we wanted to like dig into it. And if they fumble explaining that part, well, then cool. My answer to it would probably be, well, I don't know. It's the number that marketing put on our website, so I assumed they were telling the truth. But here's how the app worked, and then explain it. Boom. So yeah, I don't know winter stasis. Like as an engineer, sometimes you just got to take what the company is saying as truth. Right? Shortened the underwriting phase for life insurance by 80%. That's actually the truth. We took a process that takes anywhere from like 2 weeks to a month and brought it down to basically like a day or two. Now, we were just gluing together other, like, you know, someone's underwriting engine. That wasn't Reltio, that was a different thing. Oh, I'm forgetting all the bullshit keywords they were throwing out there. There was Reltio, and there was another one. Reltio was like the person data management thing, I'm pretty sure. So like our source of truth for customer data. There was another one. Nah. Stuff I didn't have to touch. I was the front end guy. Oh, that part, Nas? I have no idea. Yeah, that one's a crapshoot. I have no idea. Maybe putting them to task on like a real code review? I'd say maybe force a disagreement. So we don't get into the arguments here, but, you know, if they're interviewing for a React role, start talking about Angular. See how flustered they get when met with a disagreement. Right? Because in many cases, being a jerk, you know, is pretty much focused on how you deal with conflict, which is why you get a lot of those like, as a senior or lead dev, how do you handle conflict amongst coworkers? How did you resolve it? Blah, blah, blah. They can ask you those questions all they want. They'll end up getting like canned answers. But you know what you can do? You can force a conflict, right? I don't know. I haven't tried that technique. In the only times I've been interviewing other devs, I was focused more on the technical aspect because I was one of the more technical people on the team, especially for front end. Um, yeah, I would say filtering for someone who's good to work with is a manager's job. But even then, like the manager is not going to be able to create a conflict by just disagreeing. I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting to me. I'm sure there's some way to handle that. Hmm. I'd say the key is force a conflict, like a disagreement about technology. It could be, cookies versus tokens. It could be server side rendering versus needing it. You know, it could be framework or language choice, database decisions, pretty much any of that. And in that discussion, you'll also be able to suss out if they know what they're talking about. You know, we're talking about like how do you interview for someone who's just not going to be fun to work with? And I think, yeah, a big part of it during the interview might be forcing a conflict about something that's largely just opinion based. Or a thing that you know you're probably going to disagree with a lot of people on. So in that case, you know, Cookie versus JWT is not totally opinion based. There are technical merits to each, and there are definitely cases where I would say Cookie is the right choice, right? Secure token or a secure cookie. But I don't know. I think that discussion would definitely help suss out who's worth talking to. Like, are they even able to disagree cordially? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, I can't think of any other way of doing so right now. I don't know. Another aspect might be combing their social media. It's not always going to be like the answer, but if they are very strongly political on their social media, I'm not sure how fun of a colleague they would be, even if you agree politically. Because who wants to talk politics on the job? But if they're talking about it on social media all the time, you know they're going to bring it up. No, and I understand that space case. The key to being able to work with people is not that you all agree. The key is can you have a disagreement and still be fun to work with, which I think forcing a conflict can do. You're not trying to change their opinion at all. That's not the goal. Forcing the conflict is to see how they handle the conflict. The result of the conflict doesn't matter. You're not trying to change their opinion. You're trying to have a discussion about these things that are largely opinion based to see how well they approach that. Yeah. You don't need to come to a compromise. There doesn't have to be a resolution to the disagreement. You can simply disagree. That is a fine result. You don't even have to compromise. But do they get flustered discussing something that is largely opinion based? Like me when I've had too much whiskey. Luckily, that's not going to be a work problem, so we're good. Just even identifying if they're a fight or flight kind of individual for those kind of situations. And then to what degree. Again, I don't know. I have never needed to employ that kind of tactic in an interview because my only goal when I was interviewing people was technical chops because that's what the company asked for. Yeah, so here's what I'm thinking. Or even if they hate Angular, if we can disagree about those things in a workplace, then we'd be good. I guess another part of that is the things that they hate, do they even know why they hate them? Yeah, no. So I just again, we don't have to come to a consensus space case. I simply disagree on the intended outcome of the forced conflict. What you're getting at is like the step after I'm getting at. Bare minimum, is this person going to be fun to disagree with? Because you will disagree with coworkers over time. It's going to happen. And you don't have to have a result because sometimes it just comes down to a vote. Sometimes the more senior person just decides. You don't need to come to a consensus. But can you disagree without hating the other person? I'm talking about just the first step. Because that's a good barometer. If they fail that part, they're going to suck to work with, right? If they get past the we can disagree and not come to a decision, well, then, yeah, you maybe pose another conflict where a consensus is the ideal. But the very first step, can we disagree and not hate each other? Though I will point out, we basically did come to a compromise in this differing of opinion. So I do think that's a good example. So yeah, I want to change up these types. I don't think quota account needs to actually care about a min and max quota or a min and max scale. And instead it'll just have another prop type. So value names and scale names. We only need to fetch the quota when these values change. Which should never happen. But yeah, like really, this could just be an initial fetch of this page because it would be a navigation event for either of those values to change. Although it wouldn't be a navigation event based on business ID, but quota ID would be. I'm okay with that. So then, yeah, if we get back to here, search params changing just doesn't matter. Ooh. So then the has filters value, we can do a different way. Right? Having filters is just having the presence of search params that are not the per page number or the search value. And that's it. Or the sort values. So we can determine has filters separately as well. Which means we don't need that state. Yeah, okay, so I already like how much simpler that makes this. Does mean we're going to want to comment that and that. which doesn't break everything. And then, yeah, we just want to fine tune these to where it can work. So then, and yeah, let me use the restroom again. This water is going right through me. It's also maybe the coffee I drink. And when I say coffee, I mean melted milkshake. Yes, exactly. Liquefied sugar. All right, let me go pee. BRB. Okay, here's a good separate question. I've got some bratwursts I'm going to eat tonight. What do we think the right way to cook them is? If I do them in the steamer, they balloon up pretty gnarly. I'd have to like poke holes, which is doable. If I do them in a pan, they get like burnt on the outside a little too much without like cooking through well enough on the inside. Like, not enough to kill you, but could be better. I was thinking about baking them though. Right? Like coat them in some oil, throw them in the oven. Maybe finish them on a pan. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what I'm thinking is I could bake them to get them like cooked through all the way, and then I can just sear in a pan. Also doable. Yeah, yeah. No, I did like a full cover to try and cook it all the way through. I guess the tricky part is making sure it does get cooked all the way through. I'm tempted to try the baking technique. Hold on. Is that a thing? Hardened too deep in? Okay, so it makes them tough on the outside. Oh, so this says sear it and then do it. Oh, here's a question. When they do it in the oven, do they cover it with foil? Because that could be a big part. So yeah, crispy. She does cover it. I just wanted to double check that. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Yeah, I'll give it a shot. It also sounds just like a good lazier way. I'm all for the lazy. I wonder if baked and then like steamed would fix some of the crispiness. Damn it, 5 o'clock already. Man, time's just flying today. I think it's all these great conversations. Yeah, no, that makes sense, Crispy, for sure. Ooh, I don't have any fresh onions. If I had some fresh onions, oh, I would totally. I would totally do some caramelized onions, and that might add some of that like squishiness to it. Ooh, pressure cooker. That's not a bad idea. I don't have a pressure cooker. I just worry about the pressure cooker having the same problem as a steamer, where they just like they balloon up real big. Oh, that's a good point. Don't crowd them. Sure. Okay. I like the good like cooking talks we have sometimes. Yeah, this is good. Basically, I have 3 bratwursts I have that I need to use up. We were talking about the bangers. Hell yeah, Reverend Mike. Oh, and gents. Gents, if you're still out there, I remembered just now that you said hi, and I didn't actually say hi back. I'm sorry, man. If done too much, liquid onions get soggy. I mean, it depends on the heat you're doing. You want to get them, like, crispy for sure. But, I mean, soggy is actually kind of fine when paired with a bratwurst. I know there's a good way of doing crispy onions. Like mush, not soggy? No, no, I got you there. Yeah, for sure. Hold on. Is crispy onions basically just like oven baked instead? Oh, is it just deep fried? Ah, cornstarch. Okay. That's not a bad idea. Yeah, that actually looks easy enough. Sure, there you go, crispy. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing this. This would be kind of nice on a bratwurst. Maybe some Louisiana hot sauce or sriracha on it as well. I don't have any onions right now, but yeah, note to self. No, it's not worth that effort. It is real close by, though. It's like a block away. Like I don't have any ketchup. I really like lost the taste for ketchup. I'll eat it sometimes. Like I totally do. Like, I'll dip some fries every once in a while. But I really did lose the taste for ketchup when I learned and firsthand witnessed that ketchup does not get recycled properly. Almost every restaurant you've ever had ketchup at marries the ketchups. I find that so disgusting. So you can end up with, yeah, if you're the type of person who's like tapping the ketchup out, you're getting like the worst ketchup imaginable. Yeah. Yeah, it's gross. I've heard people say, well, with the vinegar content, you're probably fine. It is still like the most commonly eaten rancid food in the US. Hold on. I want to see if they actually say it. Sour smell? Yeah, I don't remember where I read the article. I think it was on Hacker News at one point. Yeah. Most bottled ketchups consist mainly of tomatoes, water, and a large bit of sugar, usually as corn syrup. So they don't actually talk about the rancidness. But yeah, the amount of sugar in modern ketchup, I believe, is what kind of really gets at it going bad, rather than something that is mainly vinegar. Can it go bad? So yeah, mold or a sour smell. Bloated bottle, off taste. A lot of those you just won't notice quick enough. Hold up. This is a great example. I'm going to zoom in on it. Oh, God. That was a bad idea. As ketchup ages, the vinegar and other liquid will begin to separate out from the tomato paste in the condiment. You've likely experienced the beginning stages of this when you go to squeeze out some ketchup and find a splash of liquid instead. A little separation is fine, but eventually it'll separate out to be too much to be mixed back in. I know, like 40% of the screen with that zoom. It doesn't mean like it's automatically bad, but it's a good warning sign. Like a little bit is expected because it's not forming a proper solution. It's just a mixture, right? My biggest problem with it is the way that restaurants marry their ketchups. They don't keep track of which one was married to which and which one's been married too many times. So you're going to get legacy ketchup as these things get married. And if you're not aware of what I mean by marrying ketchups, it's where, as part of a lot of like restaurant waiters' closing duties, especially at restaurants that keep ketchup on the table, their job is to actually take a half-empty ketchup and mix it with another half-empty ketchup, pouring them into each other. That is marrying the ketchups, and then they just toss the empty bottle from the other one. But there's no way of knowing which one is the older one. Besides maybe like the label. Do you think restaurant people check the label every time? I've worked with waiters. They don't. The good ones might. The majority don't. I've been a dishwasher. I've been a host. I even waited tables. I've done banquets. I've seen the process for marrying the ketchups for basically a decade. I don't specifically remember seeing any of them check the expiration date. And part of the problem is you don't know if that expiration date is even accurate because they could have just married an old bottle into the new one and then, surprise, new expiration date. So yeah, unless they're like serial number cataloging their ketchup bottles or something, right? Like putting specific stickers on them, it's not a good process. So I don't know if you know that. I hope I didn't ruin ketchup for you. But yeah, restaurant ketchup is a no-go for me. Hold on. No. What is it? Heirloom ketchup. There you go. Not legacy ketchup. Heirloom ketchup. Vintage ketchup. I don't know. I've never eaten at a Chick-fil-A. There's only been a couple times where I was like, you know what? I'm on my way home. It's early enough. I'll hit up the Chick-fil-A, the only one that's here on the east side, and it's there in Bellevue. And then I get to the area and I see that the cars are lined up out onto the road, and I give up. Ah, packets. Got it. For reasons I basically don't want to eat at Chick-fil-A, there have been only a couple times where I've been hungry enough and I've wanted to try it enough that I was willing to give it a shot, and all of those times, nah, they were just too busy. I get it. I don't like the stress of being backed out onto the road, even if it's like legally okay because it's not my fault. Like, I don't know, man. Nah, I'm good. There's just something that doesn't feel right about that. I have been inside of a Chick-fil-A and bought some for my dad at one point because the hospital is like right next to Chick-fil-A, and he was having an episode at that time. Heart thing. But ideologically, I didn't want to support him with my money if my dad was already going to support him a bit. And it's not like they're going to go out of business because of me. So it's not like it matters that much. I've got principles like at least half of the time. They just caught me on the wrong coin flip. But we've had it here for, man, probably almost 10 years, and I've still never been there. Feeling actually kind of good about that. I actually refuse to eat McDonald's as well these days. There are times where you'll catch me at a Jack in the Box, though. If it's 3 a.m. and I'm coming home from Seattle JS and I didn't have a chance to pick up a pizza from Big Mario's, they might see me at the Jack in the Box. Burger King foot lettuce? I don't know what that is. Arby's is your weakness? Arby's is delicious. Yeah. I'll eat Arby's if I'm willing to maybe have like gastrointestinal distress within the next 24 hours, which is totally fine sometimes, you know? Like that's acceptable, right? Just like someone who's lactose intolerant. It's not going to kill them. They just need to make sure that they're in a place where they can have an issue. Right? It's like it's a decision you weigh. For the deliciousness, am I willing to put up with an uncomfortable 5 minutes? And if that uncomfortable 5 minutes doesn't hit while I'm out and about. Oh, got it, Crispy. Yeah, yeah, no, terrible employees do that at all sorts of restaurants. Yeah, yeah. If you are so strictly vegetarian that you can't handle any cross contamination, you basically shouldn't eat out. I know it sucks to say it, but I've been in enough kitchens, good ones, like really nice ones, and mediocre ones. They're not using separate cutting boards for staging your meal, right? It's not like they're cutting raw chicken on them, but they're not using separate cutting boards. For prep, maybe. During service, I don't think so. I'm sorry. They'll use a separate section. Technically, that doesn't count. They might have this half is okay, this half isn't. Was that quick wipe with a bleach rag? Because that might be okay. It's not like there are pores in the blade that matter. Now, granted, the bleach rag gets really gross over time. So how quickly are they swapping their bleach rags? That's also an issue. With a dry rag? Was it the rag they keep on their belt, like loop or whatever, or was it the rag that sits on their cutting board? Often you'll have two separate ones, right? The one on your belt is for like your hands, which is also like, yeah, cross contamination. Come on. Belt loop? Yeah, nope, that was not a bleach rag. If it's just sitting on like the corner of the cutting board, that is most likely their bleach rag. And when I'm saying the cutting board, I don't mean just like the big rectangle one. I mean like the long, thin one that sits on the line. Right? They'll use it to like wipe down the cutting board after a prep or after like, serving something up and doing some stuff, right? But yeah, man, it's amazing how much working in food service turns you off of food service. Yeah, were you doing something other than bleach? Like, do you not consider bleach a proper sanitizing solution? Like, mixed down with water, of course. And yeah, Khalid, how you doing on YouTube? Didn't mean to leave you hanging. Bleach has flavors. The bleach itself evaporates at room temperature, leaving behind basically just water, as far as I understand it. That's why the cap on a bleach bottle is like so much like sturdier than a lot of other chemical caps. It has to be basically like your gas cap, you know? Yeah, I've always been under the impression that bleach evaporates away pretty much whole hog at room temperature. At a pretty rapid rate as well. Are you saying that's like part of the residue left behind? Because I wasn't aware of that. What's up, Code Cannon? How you doing? All right, so let's get back to what we're doing. This refactor, I don't want to like leave in the middle of this one. We did, you know, have to like refamiliarize ourselves with where we left off from Saturday, but we got this. I like the process. Oh, Naranek kitchens do it all the time, for sure. At least back when I was in food service. Only in concentrations that are not what you would actually be doing. Every kitchen I've ever worked in used a bleach solution for sanitization. Every single one. Now, granted, this was during the 2000s. I haven't worked in food service since around, I want to say 2009. So maybe it's changed since then? I don't know. Not recommended for house kitchens. I don't know. In the concentrations you're talking about, it would take a fair bit of bleach and a lot of something acidic. Like in many cases, when you hear about the mustard gas problem, it's because someone's mixing like pure hydrochloric acid into a bleach solution or something. So number one, the bleach is not kept pure. You're watering it down. I forget the exact ratio. It's like a couple caps of bleach for like a bucket. Like the ratio we're talking about is minimal. So once that gets soaked into a rag, right, concentrations matter, I get it. But once you've soaked that into a rag, it's 80% water, or more than 80% water, right? But once you've like diluted that down, and then you wipe a knife with it or wipe a cutting board with it, it will evaporate away within seconds at that concentration, right? And mixing that with the level of lemon juice that you've got, which is not hydrochloric acid, it's not as strong as major acids that you would have the mustard gas problem with, it's fine. If you are not watering down your bleach, you're fucking up, right? There are idiots out there in the world, though. No, I get that. Yeah, so brewing beer, it might be a bigger difference. I'm saying in food prep. So yeah, Naranek, yes. If you're not watering down your bleach, then yeah, you're fucking up. Yes, exactly. I get it, Naranek. There are instructions on toothpicks. Hence, Wonko the Sane in the Hitchhiker's Guide series. Are you guys familiar with that character from Hitchhiker's Guide? At one point, Wonko the Sane, who went by another name at the time, realized that he was living in the insane asylum when he discovered instructions on toothpicks. He realized that the entire world had gone crazy, so his house is the waiting room, and the insane asylum is everything outside of that domain. The outside of the club is the inside of the club. Exactly. Yes, damn, that is a good reference, Rumple Foreskin. Yeah, right? Because in what sane world would instructions on toothpicks matter? Obviously, any world that had created a situation where toothpicks need instructions had gone insane. Right, here's the instructions. Hold stick near center of its length. Moisten pointed end in mouth. Insert in tooth space. Blunt end next to gum. Use gentle in-out motion. The toothpick instructions that convinced Wonko mankind in general was crazy. We'll see. I really, really, really want to have the MVP done soon. And I was, man, I think I just peaked right there. I apologize. I didn't mean to yell that loud. The asylum was set up one day after Watson came across a set of detailed instructions on a set of toothpicks. Watson, distressed and fearing for the world's sanity, built the asylum to put it in and help it get better. The asylum is a four-walled house turned inside out. That which one would be inclined to take as the door into the house opens into a lawn with benches and walking paths. This is the area that Watson calls outside the asylum. Thus, the inside of the asylum contains the entire world save for that small area. Within that small outside area, Watson has mounted the instructions for the toothpicks in order to discourage himself and others from going back into the asylum. Arthur and Fenchurch pay Wonko a visit and learn that, like both of them, he had also received a fishbowl from the dolphins. Ooh, okay, so that's a bit of a spoiler. I mean, the book's been out long enough. This conversation will never end, so obviously it's never getting published. Boom, problem solved. Yeah, the best. The best. I'm a massive fan. Okay, so our table wrapper does need a bit of some genericness. We'll call this custom filters. Def make generic? Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally works. Hmm. I think the way we have the abstraction set up right now is going to require a bit of casting. Okay. Oh, hold on. Right. So common filters and custom filters. Oh, putting a magnet in your finger, not on your finger, in like inside your finger. The magnets stop working after X amount of time. I wonder if that's like scar tissue building up around it. Like is like scar tissue sufficiently dense that it messes with the magnetic field? Right? Because you'd want the magnet to be weak enough that it doesn't break the devices you use. Oh, really? I wasn't aware of that. I guess it makes sense. We've all had magnets that barely stick to the fridge anymore. You close the door fast enough and they fall off. Or at least growing up, we did. I did, at least. Yeah, I guess I forgot about that. All right, so I guess I need to. I need to do this, but then we're going to run into that issue where we've got common filters there. It's a great font. It'll make your day better, right? Do you see any edges on that font? Nope, just smooth sailing. There's going to be a bunch of casting magic we got to do. Feel like there's a way to make this properly type safe. There you go, Crispy. Yep. I feel like making that font will be constantly like stepping on a Lego. Just sharp edges everywhere. Somehow, a Lego piece has more sharp edges than the physical representation of that Lego piece. I believe Lego pieces are a quantum object when stepped on. Right? Every Lego piece is actually just like a hologram, and our visual representation of it is only a portion of the edges that it's actually made up of. I believe that's just science. Come on. Yeah, so Crispy, the magic of it is like you can take a Lego piece from like 50 years ago, maybe 40 years ago or whatever, and it matches up with a brand new made Lego piece. Like the level of like leeway they have for those things. Nope. Sorry, it just doesn't change. I find that actually really cool. Now, Lego's actually a really valid rabbit hole. For sure. I would, yeah. No, you don't need to stop going down rabbit holes. What fun would that be? Yes, I am familiar with SolidWorks. I had done CAD and Rhino and a bunch of other like 3D modeling stuff in high school. 3D Studio Max, like yeah, like big fan, big fan. So I had at least like a little bit of knowledge to chat with someone about that at the ski resort at one point. They mentioned that they use SolidWorks for designing like luxury yachts. And they started describing how like in SolidWorks you can actually apply like torsional force to a yacht to see where like the hot points will be. And man, yeah, SolidWorks at that point just seemed like pure magic. Right? Like you get a heat map of like where like the like pressure points are, you know? Yeah, based upon material and all sorts of shit. Yep. Yeah, it's like brilliant. SolidWorks is magic, which is why it costs as much as it does. Yeah. I've never used it myself. I'm going based off of a conversation I had with someone who designed luxury yachts using SolidWorks. Yep. Like really, really magical. Like think of it for even like architectural engineering, right? Apply like a force of wind based upon the height of this skyscraper and like all that bullshit, right? By using real proper formulas that actual architectural engineers have to take into account. Wait, so connected is actually like basically the full version? I didn't know that. I thought it was a dumbed down version. Oh, dude, that's crazy. Yeah, SolidWorks is so far beyond AutoCAD. It's kind of insane. Okay. All right, let's switch to water here, at least for a little bit. Okay, hold on. Let me reply with a quick thing. Sorry. This is my job. Okay, sorry. Just someone requested some support over in the public Slack we have for Get Kraken. All right. Anyway, it's just missing the sharing stuff. Okay. So we were able to make that work. We want to do the same thing by basically just casting it down there too. I'm okay with casting for now. So basically what we'll want to do is do an exclude for the should load more part, which is easy enough. What I'm wondering actually is eventually could we just pass in the URL? No, we can't pass in the URL. We could maybe just pass in the function. At which point, yeah, so fetch items instead of just being... So, hold on. What I'm getting at is if we go out to Quota account, we look at the endpoint here. We would still need to pass in like the start key, unique key. Nah, so we couldn't pass this class function separate unless we want to change that abstraction, which I don't think we want to do at the moment. Now, and the complexity we're dealing with is mainly because we have 7 different pages that need a common abstraction. So making this work for all 7 pages is the tricky part of the abstraction. And what we're doing right now is putting us on the right track, but it's not solving the problem yet. I think once we get this next iteration of the abstraction, the iteration after that might be the final. But I don't know for sure. What's up, Proton Fig? How you doing? Sorry, got distracted. Steam sent me an email telling me what's on sale right now. Why'd you kick the table? Why would you do that? I'm guessing it was an accident. You were like walking too fast or something, right? Chasing the cat. I don't know if you even have a cat. But no, that sounds like really brutal. I'm sorry, man. I hope you feel better. So yeah. This part's actually easy. Maybe. Maybe. All right. Where are these types? If I just make these change events optional, we might not even need them. Oh, and yeah, we were doing that just to see. Yeah, Dr. Trap. I usually just have that problem with video games. Like, oh my god, it's 3 a.m. and I totally just thought of the solution to that thing. God, I can't wait to play that game again. I've also done similar when I was in school. The year was 1999, and I had just discovered Ultima Online. And I'm sitting there, like, in math class thinking about how I could farm wood better. Tomato, tomato. It's basically the same thing, right? Ah, so yeah, let it update and then go to sleep. And maybe it'll be finished when you wake up. No big deal. Problem solved. All right, so now we head to list filters. Latest tune has 80s vibes. Nice. You may want to decide to get Ghosty as your terminal so that you can get this as your terminal shader, because this is the perfect shader for the 80s vibes. Yeah, I get it. I feel like you only come in here when you have a song to share. I'm noticing a bit of a pattern. All right. So you didn't drop a song when you came in on a raid. All right. You didn't drop a song the time before that. You did the time before that. You did before that. It's looking like a good 60% of the time. Take that information as you will. Might be hard to recognize that pattern from your end. All right, so show clear button is something we definitely do need. Look at that prop. That was actually something we needed anyway, because that was broken. Yeah, I think we just get rid of has other filters. Okay, so we get it to build. All right, let me go use the restroom again. I actually do think we can maybe make list filters manage all of the search params. So it can go back to setting the search params. Yeah. All right, let me go use the restroom. I'll be right back. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I think so. What's up, my secure gift? How you doing? Okay, so hold on. The setting and getting of search params, that's something that the table wrapper is responsible for. So then list filters simply responds with an event that tells the table wrapper whether it should update. Let me double check that. Nah, we're still doing list filters down at this level. Oh, no. And the reason for that is that all right, so we're going to get into a weird edge case with the user experience, and I need some help on it. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, this song goes off the rails. Like stressful. Like, did you feel anxiety just now? It was the song. So far, so far. What cool things did we do today? We're still working on this abstraction. Would it have been simpler just to like duplicate all the logic? Yes and no. Because to make the change I'm trying to make now, would mean I'd have to change it on 7 different pages with all the copying and pasting shenanigans that go with it. So building out this abstraction right, I think is important because it definitely surpasses the rule of threes. So I don't know if y'all have a rule on when you should build like a component to wrap some functionality or to abstract it out from X amount of pages or whatever. I do have a rule. I call it the rule of threes, but it's actually a fuzzy rule because it could mean it's the 3rd time you've implemented something or the 3rd time you've pasted something, meaning it's the 4th implementation. You get to decide at which point you have enough information to make the right abstraction, because the wrong abstraction can really screw you over. And you don't know if it's the right or wrong abstraction until you have at least 3 or 4 use cases. So now that we have 7 pages that need all this functionality, I think we're at a good place. But yeah, premature abstraction is actually just premature optimization for the dev rather than the consumer. And premature optimization is the root of all evil, right? Hold on. Superscript generator. One second. I gotta do this. So hold on. Someone made a post about Toontown and used a reference to a person in a hat holding Roger Rabbit over the thing of turpentine. My reply to that tweet was, and he talked just like this by using superscript. Hold on. I think it's a banger tweet. All right, so yeah, person in a hat reference. The superscript got messed up. It works fine on Windows. Come on, Mac. Why you got to do that to me? This. It actually works because he does kind of go down at the end of the this. Nailed it. Nailed it. Man, little bummed I haven't gotten any other responses from other people about a banger idea I had. Basically, I wanted to know if we're collecting enough metrics at GitKraken to know what the primary languages and frameworks someone uses might be. And are there heuristics we could use to find that? And I absolutely think there are. They're not going to be perfect. Oh, I need to throw streamer mode back on in Discord. 1 second. At least half the chat was like, oh, did I just get a message? Sorry, my bad. Let me turn streamer mode back on. There we go. My bad, my bad. So yeah, we're still back to the same question. And oh man, I'm getting like histamine bumps. What allergy do I have kicking on right now? Dude, those itchy like histamine bumps, anyone get those? Where like random spots of your skin just like puff up a bit whenever you're exposed to some allergen? I might be slightly allergic to alcohol, so that might be it. Right? I wouldn't get facial flushing if I wasn't slightly allergic. So that's got to be it, right? All right, so yes, set search params. We don't care about doing any of that inside of these components. We're doing this on number range change. So realistically, what we could do is we're doing this part. Instead of filter dot on date range change, we could actually just inject that directly. And then this just becomes a hook that modifies the value based upon value names. And I like that. What it also means is that when we do the quota range change, we could actually take in another value for the scale name change. And then all of these values just go and update the uncommitted search params. If we're going to do it that way, we're going to have to actually migrate away from the use memo to a use effect and a use state. And then we could set the state for the uncommitted search params, right? And then when we set the search params, that's a separate thing. Okay, so we're at 7 p.m., and I don't want to go too late tonight. Let me double check work tomorrow as well. I've got one meeting tomorrow. Oh, thanks, Melky. Hey, haven't seen you in a bit. How you doing? I saw you streaming earlier today. I just saw Q&A in the title, but what were you working on in between the Q&A? I know you were like trying to launch an app as well. Have you launched that yet? And apologies for not stopping in. You did launch. Oh, cool. Do you got a link for us? I'd love to check it out. Yeah, you can paste it. Oh, god damn it. All right, hold on. 1 second, sorry. I thought you had link permissions. You've never tried to paste a single link. I see the link, but let me add you just so you can do it in the future too. Okay, so PFG Labs. Real projects with Golang. Wait. Are you still doing like the product hunt launch? I mean, oh, hold on. I gotta sign in with Twitter, not Google. Okay, so I missed like your actual launch. Well, you get an upvote anyway. My bad. Yeah, no worries, man. So, copy the process, not the projects. Learn to use Go the right way, build real projects, and challenge yourself to use the right tools for the job in your challenge section. So it's like a Golang learning tool. Very similar. Hold on, what was... Oh, there was that company that like reached out to basically like every streamer to like, hey, you know, could we sponsor your stream and you'll get an affiliate code, and if people sign up, you're good, right? Yours is that, but basically Go focused, right? Code crafters. Yep, that's totally it. Right? Is yours like just a Go focused code crafters, or what do you consider different from that? Give us the pitch if you want. Totally up to you. Right? Theirs was like build an app that does blah, blah, blah. Build Redis from scratch. Build BitTorrent from scratch. Like blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So yeah, would you consider yours like a Go focused code crafters, but maybe like smaller scope for the projects, or larger scope for the projects, or all of the above? The fact that you were so quick on that means that you're definitely considering them within the same space, right? Oh, is that not how Code Crafters works? Or does Code Crafters even have like a validation process? So it sounds to me like you're mixing Code Crafters with exorcism, right? Would that be like the good way to describe that? Or am I missing a step? I never used them either. The way you describe it as like write code on your own system and push it up and then it gets validated sounds like exorcism, though. So not sure if you're familiar with exorcism, but exorcism is more focused on like smaller things. So yeah, exorcism is like learn a new language, but not necessarily like big project based. It's more like leak code style based. Yeah, it's a great tool. What I would get at is like a focused Go version. Sounds awesome. It's a nice niche. CM Coffee Dev. Interesting. Yeah. So what I would say is yours is more of a project focused exorcism, but currently limited to only Go, right? And then Code Crafters overlaps just a little bit because they're like project focused anyway, but not necessarily caring about the language you do it in. The fact that they got backed by YC is kind of crazy. I did not realize that. Huh. Huh. Cool. Wow, more power to them. Are you planning on applying for the spring cohort of Y Combinator with it? No? All right, just checking. I'm actually thinking of applying with my project. But yeah, so I like the idea. Kind of like the billing model. Okay. I like the design. The design is nice. This is pretty. I see that you're going for like a somewhat neo-brutalist design as well. Like the way you're doing the header. Yeah, no, this is clean. Good job. Oh, so neo-brutalism is like I think DuckDB. They're a good example of it. No, not anymore. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Hold on. Okay, not DuckDB. There's like a wrapper around DuckDB. Shit. I mean, render does kind of like the blocky design where like all the lines kind of meet up kind of stuff. That's kind of what I'm getting at. God, there's like... Mother Duck. Yeah, right. So this like style of design is neo-brutalist. Right? So yours is less like comic booky, but very close on like the, you know, the lines, right? No rounded edges kind of stuff. Trying to think if there's some other like good sites. But yeah, basically if you go look at neobrutalism.dev, right? So they still like they use a fair bit of rounding, but you can actually just crank that way down. Right? So then like a lot of their designs ends up kind of like feeling like this. So yeah, I don't know. Just basically the design aesthetic harkens back to like GeoCities type era when rounded corners weren't a thing. And then maybe like 10 years later, people started doing rounded corners, but they had to actually like slice images into like 8 different like things, and then the middle part was just like a, you know, a background color, but each corner was its own like sliced version using table layouts and everything. Like, dude, it was brutal. Doing rounded corners before border rate or border radius. Oh my god, nightmare, like full on nightmare. Technically, Kenny, CSS has come a long way. HTML hasn't actually changed that much. HTML5 was actually a thing back then, you know? CSS and CSS3 and all that is actually what made HTML5 worthwhile. But even the way they're doing like drop shadow, like this type of like functionality where you like mouse over and the shadow changes. Good luck doing that with GeoCities back in the day. Like, ugh, gross. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, pretty gnarly. But yeah, basically like how in modern websites these lines would actually be grouped away from each other, right? Material design style and all that. All right, so it's all just single page. I guess to get any more, we'd have to like log in, right? Only thing I would push back on so far is establish like a proper org so that I'm not authorizing you, I'm authorizing like the company behind it. That migration might be tougher, but I do think it would be a better thing. Like, I clicked a PFG Labs thing. I didn't click a MelkyDev thing. Why is MelkyDev asking for this permission? Up to you. That's only feedback I have so far. Doing that migration on behalf of your users may be some effort. Really not that much. They just got to re-authenticate. And orgs are free. If the code is public, actually. That might be where you ran into it. Like, you didn't necessarily want to pay for GitHub, right? And yeah, I've got it zoomed out a bit. 1 second. Let's get it to, like, visible. All right, so with my zoom, I think there's some, like, obvious design bullshit that doesn't matter that much, right? Once I zoom out a bit, it's totally fine. I do almost feel like this should be first in the list. Looks to me like it's just, no, I was going to say it's sorted by title, but it's not, because then we get to these two. Like maybe for the person that zooms in and they're on mobile, right? They like just look this far and they see everything is pro. You know, expecting people on mobile to scroll that far isn't ideal. And I agree, like they're not going to be doing your service on mobile, but they might log in to check it out on mobile. Just saying. I don't know. I'm okay if you ignore all of this feedback. I am a little curious. Okay, so under construction, got it. I was about to say, like, why are those blurred? But no, it's because, yeah, these are not there yet. So no, that makes sense. I get that. Yeah, I don't know. That's all I got. Nicely done. And yeah, my zoom is probably breaking stuff. I do that for stream. And that's always stuff that you can just fix anytime. I do feel like there's something off with the initial sort. Like maybe you'd want to have the easy first. Like the default sort should probably be difficulty. I'm not sure what the default sort actually is right now. I could see the default sort being title, but it doesn't even look like default sort is title. Oh no. Again, good work. Like this is nice. I like it. I'm not trying to roast you at all. Like really good job. You didn't ask for any of this critique either, so my bad. On we could hide it. Okay, nice. I like it. Yeah. Yeah, good work, man. So wait, when did you do the launch? You only got 24 upvotes? Like you didn't push this nearly as much as you should have. Does it say when the launch was? Early December? Okay. Could have been holidays. Feel like yeah, I don't know. There's something that could have been done to make the launch more of a success. Right, like we got 86 for this bullshit thing. And that's like 2 years ago. I guess, yeah, no, in the 20s is not bad, actually. 145 for boring avatars. Again, like, very bullshitty, very light. It could be. Could be that Go is just a niche that a lot less people would be enthused about, but I don't know. Um, and yeah, Melky, if you're still even out there, I'm wondering, did you post to like the Go subreddit when you did the launch? Yeah, no worries. Yeah. Sorry. Okay, okay. Like lesson learned for the future, maybe. I get it. I think that would have been huge. Like, do not lurk. Like, do not like sleep on Reddit for posting some of this stuff. Have you done a like? Did you do a Hacker News post at the same time? But yeah, like honestly, 20 upvotes is nothing to shake a stick at. It's more a factor of like when you posted it than almost anything anyway. And nothing prevents you from doing like mini launches for features. Like AppWrite does that shit all the time. Like not a problem. So yeah, as you like launch a new course, you could do another product hunt launch. Maybe in like next year's December, you do an advent of Go or something, right? And maybe the advent of Go is actually just one like project split out into like daily like steps. And if I see you do this stuff, the invoice will be in the mail. I'm kidding. Like, nah, this was freely offered. You didn't ask for it. I don't care. I'm not worried about it. Implement all of it, some of it, none of it. No skin off my back. I do think it was a good idea though, and yeah, like that's the thing you've been working on your stream when I have been lurking. I haven't lurked that much, but check in. So yeah, super cool, man. I'm curious, is there a like balance or quota system that you would be tempted to implement? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Pulling that one back to the bad salesperson that I am. Right? So instead of like a subscription, maybe someone could opt into like a credit-based system. I think subscription actually makes more sense and it's probably the right move. I guess the big thing is you might still want to like quota people for like build minutes, etc. Like how quick would someone be able to run into like the what was it? $10 a month? I already forgot, sorry. GFG Labs? It was something Labs. PFG. PFG Labs. Right, so if we look at pricing for $10, I know you're using AWS because that's part of the stuff that I saw you do. For someone to consume $10 worth of infrastructure would be pretty crazy. So you're probably okay with that. But as you go optimizing for your bottom line, maybe you do set it up with like a quota system. Maybe to prevent abuse by teams. Like 5 people using the same shared account. Like, hey, you ran X amount of build minutes for testing your project this month. You're about to hit your quota. Would you like to purchase more minutes? Bam, you can get like a quick value add on top. For a single person, $10 worth of AWS spend would be a lot of build minutes. Where does the developer support thing happen? Is that in just like your main Discord? Or did you make a separate Discord for it? Okay, separate Discord. Nice. Yeah, I think that's the smart move. Yeah, I don't know. And keep in mind, I wasn't trying to roast it whatsoever. I hope it didn't come across that way. I just felt like sharing my thoughts, whether you listen to them or not, was worth it. As part of your promotional stuff, you may consider reaching out to, you know, some of the other people on your stream team and seeing if they'd be willing to give it a shot for a project. Right? Bash Bunny, Primogen, etc. especially if you could do like a commission thing. You may even consider like a partnership with BootDev. Like I know, you know Lane at least, right? So yeah, some type of like partnership where like, you know, you both scratch each other's backs with referrals could be worthwhile. Anyway, yeah, my bad. It was not a roast. It was a seasoning. I was just sprinkling some salt and pepper on it. No big deal. All right, so back to what we're working on. We're actually getting to the point where, yes, I need to leave myself some notes for what I want to do tomorrow. Because, yeah, I'm not going to be able to complete this today, and I don't want to leave it in a half-done state because that'll be harder to deal with. So instead, my note for tomorrow is change this to a use effect / use state. And then update uncommitted search params to use the update uncommitted search params from the filter callbacks. We'll need to know what keys to update in search params based on props to filters. Need to add scale keys as props for quota filter. Right, so that's our next step for tomorrow, which I think will occupy most of the time tomorrow. So yeah, instead of the use memo, we'll change it to a use state and a use effect, and then we'll update the state inside of these like hooks that we have set up here, right? Like these change hooks. Maybe not that one, but we could do that one. I think we actually have to do that one. We could just set search params. So basically, here's the idea. We set search params for anything that we want to trigger a fetch versus we update uncommitted, such as in these change events when we don't want to trigger a fetch. And then we have a button that updates the search params and triggers the fetch. Yeah, I like that. And yeah, for everyone just joining or that was not aware during like why I'm doing this like level of indirection, we have 7 pages that need to mimic this style of functionality. And all 7 of those pages are enough of like repetition that I want to cut down on the boilerplate so that I can actually make these changes, right, as we decide to like, do other stuff. For the most part, it's cut down on like 1,400 lines of boilerplate. Theoretically, once we implement it on every page that needs it, 1,400 lines of just duplicated logic. So it's a needed abstraction. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I think this is a good point. And yeah, Melky, you playing any games lately? I know you're not huge on the gaming stuff lately, but just in case, if there's any games you want to play, like PoE 2. I don't know if you play Diablo or not. Like Pillars of, or Path of Exile. I keep saying Pillars. I keep messing that up. Path of Exile is quite fun. It's like a Diablo clone, but better. And it's got like a bit of an Elden Ring vibe to, squishiness. It's quite fun. Heavily enjoying it. It goes free to play whenever they like end early access, which will happen probably sometime this year. But yeah, I don't think we need to get other music going. We're at 7:30 p.m. I need to get to sleep at a reasonable hour tonight so I can wake up tomorrow, record some stuff, hit up the P.O. box and pick up some stuff, and then record more stuff. Main reason is I picked up one of these Shure SM7Bs. I won't be using it for stream because I don't want a mic up in my face all the time. Like, oh God, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? But instead for like voiceover, like stuff that doesn't need me on camera for work especially, that's my goal. The stuff I have being shipped is going to allow me to hopefully like get enough output out of that mic, because right now I'm powering my audio capture device with USB, and that's really not enough to power the phantom power for the noise boost or the signal booster, which is, oh, why don't I see it? This guy, this Triton Audio, what do they call it? FET head for like boosting the signal. So yeah, phantom power isn't strong enough. Should be good once I grab some stuff that got shipped out to me. So yeah, let's go figure out who's streaming right now. Bueller. Bueller. Matisse Tech, I'm sorry, we're just about to go raid someone. Yeah, sorry, Matisse Tech. Well, do you have a preference on who we go raid? How about that? There we go. Right? Do you have a preference? Let me know. You're working on a game jam project. With Itzoik and Clayman. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I'll go look. We'll figure out who to raid. What was the game that you're making, though? I'm curious about that. Wow, Midnight Simon's doing some React remix stuff? I mean, I think we go raid Midnight Simon, right? I feel like I don't see him doing front end ever. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go raid Midnight Simon. And so you're saying a rage game? When you say rage, you mean like... Okay, no, I was thinking Rampage. What is a rage game? Yeah, what's... Oh, those kind of games. Okay, yeah. No, I get it. The don't fall kind of games. Yes, like chained together, etc. Got it. Okay. All right, so we're going to go raid Midnight Simon. But no, that sounds fun. How far are you guys on your rage game? And YouTube, thank you all for hanging out. We had a good day today. Did our thing, etc. Like, man, we got this abstraction to finish. We'll, I think, finish it tomorrow. I think we got a good set of notes on the things we got to do. So, yeah, YouTube.